when you're working on a vehicle, always make sure that you have wheel chocks on both wheels. Make sure your emergency brake is on, and also that your stick is in neutral.
The tools you're gonna need: a rag, WD-40, a magnetic pan, a wrench to help tighten your compression test kit, a rubber tube so you can get your spark plugs out and in easily, a ratchet, a socket that you will need for your loosening of the bolts, a spark plug socket, and an extension if you need it.
When you work on a car, always make sure that you always have your battery disconnected. If you're working with a car with coil packs, you're going to want to take the wiring harness off the coil packs here and move them away so that no arcs will jump when you try to turn the car over.
So you want to take your bolts off the coil packs, and then when you take your bolt out, you want to make sure you place it somewhere where you won't lose it. That's why we have a magnetic dish, so we don't lose them.
So what we've done here is we've taken the rest of the bolts out. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to pull the coil packs off. And we're going to lay them out where they came out, so we know which one goes in where, so that we don't mess up our firing order. And what we're also going to do is we're going to label these 1 through 4, starting with the front of the engine, so that we know which hole to put it back into. You can take these and put them on the side for now. While you're doing your compression test, you don't want any fuel going into the combustion chamber. So what you're going to want to do is you want to go into your fuse box. Look for your fuel injection fuse or your fuel injection pump fuse. That's going to be this one right here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at it as if it was a map. You're going to want to take out the corresponding fuse. So now your injectors will not fire into your combustion chamber.
So when you take your spark plug out, you want to be careful not to drop it, because it will shatter very easily. You want to place it somewhere where it won't fall, and so you have it in order, so you don't put it in the wrong hole.
And one of the reasons why we have this rubber piece here is because that will grip onto the spark plug, as the spark plug socket we have is worn out. So you might have to get either a magnet or some rubber tubing to pull the spark plug out. When you take your spark plugs out, always make sure that you put them in the numbered order that they came out. Starting with the front of the engine, you go back. This is cylinder 1, this is cylinder 2, cylinder 3, and cylinder 4. You always want to make sure that when you take the spark plugs out, that you put them on the cowl in the order they came out. It's important you do that because with your compression tester, you're going to have 2 different sizes of spark plugs that attach to your compression tester, and you're going to want to find out which one it is by looking at how big everything is. So this is the right thread for this compression tester, and how you're going to want to put it together is you're going to want to thread it on, and you're going to want to kind of get that relatively tight so no air leaks out of it. And you're going to want to get your compression tester, put it all together. You're going to want to come over to your engine here, thread this into the hole where the spark plugs would be. And once it's in there, you're gonna want to turn your compression tester on. When you're in a manual transmission car, you're gonna want to make sure that you have your foot in the clutch, the foot on the brake, your car is in neutral, and that you crank your engine for 3 turns. So it's gonna sound like 3 steamboats. So it's gonna go chew, chew, chew.
So when you do the compression test, you want to wait 2 seconds, hit reset, and then you'll get the most accurate recording.
So once you get the rest of your spark plugs in, you're gonna want to take your socket out, grab the coil packs, and with them being labeled, you know exactly which hole to put them into. And then you're gonna want to connect up your coil packs back up to your wiring harness so that you can hear that audible click that happens with them. Then you're gonna want to get your bolts from your magnetic dish. And then thread them by hand first so that you don't cross thread them. Right now I'm gonna tighten them after I get them butted up to the coil pack here. I'm gonna grab my ratchet, give them just a knuckle tighten while you're on the head of the ratchet. You don't want to tighten these too much or the plastic can crack. You're gonna want to put everything back in where the wires are. And then you're gonna want to go to your fuse box, grab your fuse, put it back in where you took it out. And again, listen for that click. And then make sure that your batteries are connected back together. And that's your compression test. To find information on your car, you're gonna want to go to the driver's side door jamb. It may be on the passengers as well. You're gonna want to go to the sticker here. It'll give you your build date. So this is December of 2001. If it's later in the year, this is gonna be the 2002 model. So just keep that in mind. You're also gonna have your VIN number here. And of course your make, and then your model is going to be on the back of your car. You don't need to use WD-40 when you do this test, although it's good to have on the side just in case you have any nuts or bolts that will not come off. So what we're doing is we're finding information on the Mazda that we were working on. It's a 2002 Mazda. You don't want to find your model here. We don't have a Protege 5, DX, LX, or SE. It'll generally say on the badge or on the side of the vehicle. We have a Protege ES. And we have a 2-liter dual overhead cam engine. What you're going to want to do is that you want to go over to specifications, mechanical, engine. You want to go over to your, okay, I did it wrong. You're going to want to go over to system and components, engine, cooling and exhaust, engine. You go down to your compression check. You want to go over to specifications, and then we are going to want to look at our engines here, and we can see what it is on the bottom here. So PSI is going to be the third number, and the standard for this from factory will be 171 PSI. And the minimum amount of PSI of compression that we should have for this engine is 119 psi. And the maximum difference between cylinders is 28 psi. So you're gonna want to mark that down somewhere so that you have it for future reference. Once we find our specs for our engine on the compressions, we go over to the other side of our paper to where we got all of our readings and we compare them to whether it's in spec or not. Our engine is in spec, but the only issue is that one cylinder is out.